1 second. Let's get the technology going here. Getting the tech going here. All right, okay. 1 second. There it is. Okay. All set. Okay. It's a day in. Now in the chat, I'm going to drop a copy of the presentation right away. Stand by. It is right here. Whoops, it's in the waiting room. You're not in the waiting room anymore. Hold on. There we go. Okay. Okay, in the chat is an upload of the today's session will show up once I do this. Give it a chance, it'll upload, and you can have your own copy to take with you when you leave. Of course, if you can't and you're just hearing this, just email me. I'll share with you a copy of this presentation. All right? All right, let's go right into this. Oh, I should probably mention before we even start, I dropped 2 very important videos because I didn't want to make the session too long, okay? I did some videos the other night before I got sick too, a couple days ago. One's on scholarships and one's on the PLUS loan. You should watch those videos with your students. They're very informative. I just didn't want to make today's session incredibly long, seeing it was a weeknight. And I'll do that a lot more. Most of you should know how to get to my YouTube channel. Quinn, why don't you drop the link to it in the chat just in case?
Okay.
If you go there, get my last 2 videos. They're very excellent on the parent loan and the scholarship. I'll say a little more about how the parent loan fits into the overall picture today, okay? And you'll ask me questions as we go. Since I made the presentation shorter, if you have questions, just raise your hand or just put them in the chat. I'm counting on questions as I go. I'm counting on it, okay? I planned it into the time. If you have no questions, it'll take about 45 minutes, but you may have questions. Don't feel bad at all. If you have the question, I am sure that other people have the same question. I'm positive. Okay? All right, let me go ahead and get the slideshow going here. All right, let me get this closed here. This is the 7th meeting, Quinn. Sorry about that, not the 6th. It's the 7th meeting. We're having in December. Last year I had the 7th meeting on December 14th. It's kind of funny. We're on the same scale. Again, I'm using short videos on our YouTube channel to supplement the meetings. Each time I have a meeting, I have some things I can't cover in the session. All right, let's go. We should probably cover the types of college financial aid awards, scholarships, and grants. First of all, you'll have need-based grants that you can get. And that means the federal Pell Grant for very low income people. But there could be some Pell for middle class. Depends on where you're at. The lowest income will be the maximum Pell, which is $73.95. And that kicks in at about 40 or 42,000 or below family income. We also have the supplemental grant by the federal government and the Cal Grant. A lot of you feel that Cal Grant is something that's available for everybody, but it is a need-based grant. Most of my families cannot get a Cal Grant. There is a middle-class Cal Grant, but they have money left over. Individual schools can take care of that. And then you have some need-based grants that some private schools do award, right? It's not something we see with Black schools. HBCU privates do not do this. Only one does, and that's Howard University, okay? General University grants. If you have any questions, just put it in the chat. Quinn, hey, Quinn, please watch the chat, okay?
Okay.
Great, just let me know. And you all can also, raise your hand or say, excuse me, Deacon, whatever you want to do. We have alumni awards for some schools like George Washington and Lehigh University, and they have a thing called Alumni Award. And those are actually need-based awards. Now, need-based for a private school might mean incomes below 90,000 or 100,000. Whereas for a state school, it's going to be much lower, right? But you can get need-based money when you make 120,000 a year. Some schools will give you need-based money. These are not merit-based grants. They're merit-based grants are based on what? GPA and SAT mostly. And there's various names for the grant: presidential award, professor's grant. There are different awards for merit for GPA. Athletic, but you must be recruited by the athletic office, right? Artistic grants are a possibility: portfolios, auditions, late awards. So if there's music involved, you might do an audition after you've been accepted to the school. These are late awards. They're awarded late after you've decided to go to the school. Incidentally, I should have said that a lot of schools won't give you any scholarship money till you say you're coming to the school. The CSUs are like that. They won't give a president's award unless they know a student's going to go to the school. That's an interesting phenomenon. Okay, here's a common misconceptions about scholarships. This is very important. Third-party scholarships can significantly reduce the cost of college. All right. They usually help. Let me close this up. Okay, I can't figure out what's going on here. Okay, here we go. Just a minute here. Okay, it's in the way. I can't speak. They can significantly reduce indirect costs. So scholarships from third parties are not big enough to affect the direct costs of college. And plus, they're awarded so late. They're awarded so late in the season after you've already enrolled in the school. So if you win a $2,000 scholarship from a third party, the scholarship is not available until September when you've gone to the school. Mostly, that's usually what's going to happen. Okay. Indirect cost. What is indirect cost? It's the cost that's not included on the bill. Scholarships work in a small way on this cost. So if you get $1,000 scholarship, that's going to be your spending money, or it's going to be your book money, or something not on the bill. Okay. I did that with my daughter. When she got third-party scholarships, I didn't have to give her as much spending money and taught her how to budget. We'll have more on that later. The direct cost, what's that? It's the cost included on the bill. So whenever you hear me say direct cost today, I'm talking about the cost on the bill. Tuition, room, and food. I didn't say board, but whatever. Listen to this. The indirect cost is only 4% to 13% of the total college cost. To which you'll say, well, at least it's something. Yes, but don't expect a bunch of smaller scholarships to really affect the direct cost. It's going to cut the indirect costs, and that's only 4 to 13%, depending on the college. The lower the cost of the college, the more the indirect costs, a higher percentage. The best way to control college costs is if the school picked really has good grants for direct costs, given the students' grades. See the previous presentations. I'm looking around for a bottle of water here. I'll get it in a minute. Or its cost is significantly lower naturally. So some schools are just significantly lower naturally, like Grand Canyon University. It's just low cost naturally. So obviously that the reduction in cost is built into the lower cost of the school. Some black schools, or predominantly black schools, not private primarily, are going to be naturally lower in cost, right? They're just going to be under 30,000. So the grant is kind of built into the cost. But the best way to control college costs is in the schools that are on your list. I'll be glad to analyze those for you. Other misconceptions and clarifications. Most scholarships are $300 to $1,500. I would say 90% of them. The most diligent students get 2 or 3 of those. Okay. Very, very rarely and exceptionally large scholarships are available. Most are not renewable in subsequent years. Moderately high GPA students up to 3.6 and income of 65,000 or greater will have the hardest time getting scholarships, usually the ones with essays. So the 3.6 is not considered a high GPA for a high merit award. Typically the students that are 3.8 and 3.9 are getting those. But there's some scholarships they'll only take students below 3.5 and below 3.4. you'll just, when you're looking for them, you'll see that. Now, in my video on scholarships, I kind of go over how to look for scholarships in detail. I might do a little here, but not much. The scholarship award season is June through July. Oh, that's sorry, of 2026. There's another period that's January through March. So we're coming up on a season right now. But third-party scholarships should not be a part of your decision of where to attend. A lot of people will say, well, I will go there if I get scholarships. But you remember, those scholarships don't fund until fall, and they're not going to be very large. You shouldn't plan that if you get scholarships, you'll go to the school. They're just not big enough. Now, there are some big scholarships, and I'll certainly put them up on my website. I'll show you that later. And by the way, go to my video about scholarships. I talk about what is large and what are some of the larger ones, right? All right, here's the types of third-party money. Third-party merit scholarships, about 55% of all scholarships are merit-based, meaning GPA and or SAT. Typically, the GPA, like I said, is greater than 3.6. Third-party need-based are going to be Pell Grants, scholarships. 30% of those scholarships will be third-party money. In other words, there are some scholarships that are based on financial need only. Typically, the need basis is less than 50,000, which will allow you to say you're getting a Pell Grant. That's how they can tell. Typically, they'll want a copy of the FAFSA. Third-party people who get need and merit, students who have a perfect storm. They have need and they have merit above 3.6 is about 15%. Note on all of the above, there's specific criteria for each scholarship, and you need to be aware of that. Most students do not meet these third-party requirements, so have that in mind. Where are the scholarships? Again, this is a shortened version of what I have in my YouTube video. Where are the scholarships? Utility companies, your church, your parents' employers, your city, your high school, your credit unions, banks, college sorority. Oh, that's a big one. Online, just Google them. I'm actually showing 2 Delta scholarships on our website right now. I'll show you the website at the end, don't worry. If you go to my video, you'll definitely see it. You'll definitely see it. Hey, Quinn,
Yes.
could you text your mom and have her bring me a bottle of water?
Okay.
Till I'm dying, she'll come running. All right. Where to look for scholarships? On our website, westaid-eep.org. You just move the cursor along the top till you see scholarships, click on it. Do not pay for scholarships or guaranteed financial aid. That's a scam that's occurring right now. I seem to see these more this year. Don't pay for scholarships. Don't pay for guaranteed financial aid. Parents do not do all the work. Students get to work after the new year. They get to work on scholarships. All right. Also use Google, right? It's a team effort. Sure, parents can help them find the scholarships, but students ultimately have to do the applications. Now I'm going to cover, reminding you again, there's a video more extensive on scholarships that I just dropped the other day. Initial mandatory costs for college. This is very important. It surprises a lot of people. Here's the stuff, listen closely. Here's the stuff you're going to have to pay for without financial aid. There's no financial aid until they start school. Your admission deposit is going to be $0 to $800, usually $200 to $300. Here comes my water, y'all. Hallelujah, my help's coming. That hit the spot. Thank you, Quinn. $0 to $800. It's usually $200 to $300 he deposits, but some schools are $800. I'll explain that in detail another time, but typically the larger deposits are covering a lot of things. So they might cover the orientation, for example. They might cover some other aspect of your enrollment, but there's $0 to $800. $0 if you have a Pell Grant and you go on to CSU or UC, usually they will waive the admission deposit. That's mean when you pick the school, you won't have to make a deposit. That's if your FAFSA is submitted early. That way they can see it and see that you have financial need. Remember, if you have any questions, let us know. The housing deposit runs $250 to $1,800. The housing deposit one runs $250. That's a wide range, I know. Schools like San Francisco State have very large housing deposits. Okay, it's because their housing is a little short. So because of supply and demand, they could charge a higher deposit. Then some are small, $250. You might want to know a portion of these are refundable, a large portion. Usually they take out about $50 to $100 if you ask for a refund. It's just that they won't give it back to you until August. Orientation is going to be $200 to $500 plus your travel costs. Remember, I just said a minute ago that you might have paid for it in your initial deposit. Like if you're going to Sonoma State, you pay $800. It's going to cover your orientation costs, which is cool, right? The first 1 to 2 months of rent is typically you have to pay a couple of months of rent on your dorm before you get your financial aid award. Now, the only way to stop all that is if you are a Pell Grant student, a lot of that's waived till you start school. And a lot of housing places will let you make an installment agreement and agree to pay after you come there. But you got to realize these things at the orientation so they don't think you owe for it. They'll try to scare you by sending you this big bill and you're shocked. But you just need to call the payables office. There's usually some kind of way you can work something. CSUs will allow reduced income families to waive many deposits. I just said that. UCs do it too, by the way. Plan to attend the orientation on the campus. Don't mistake your earlier visit to a campus as orientation. I should correct that typo. Just because you visited a college, it doesn't mean you've had the orientation. Usually it's mandatory for youth and oftentimes the parents to attend orientation. It usually costs $200 to $400 plus travel. Registration for classes usually begins at the orientation. By the way, some schools will have what we call a yield event, like before May 1st. They'll invite you to an open house. That's not orientation. That's them trying to get you to go to the school. Orientation is usually in July. It's in the summer, okay? Advisors and departments are visited during these orientations. Sometimes the students overnight on the campus. Sometimes. I notice colleges are cutting back on that. What about wait lists? Some of you are going to get waitlisted for colleges. It's going to come up in the next few weeks. A lot of you guys at early action, remember it's yes, no, or wait list. Let me explain that. On early action, if a school says yes, that's obvious you're in. If they say no, you're not in and that's it. If they say wait, they're pushing you to the regular period. So that's a different kind of wait list. The wait list I'm talking to push to the regular period for decision. The wait list I'm talking about is when we get out to March and April and they tell you you submit a regular application, not early action. They come back and say you're on the wait list. What do? You be sure to make all deposits for another school. Start thinking about another school. Start planning to go to that school's orientation. Do not expect to hear positively from waitlist, especially if you're waiting for an appeal. If you've appealed, don't wait for it. If you do hear positively, it could be as late as June 15th, the June 15th of next year, I should say, sorry. There will be very reduced or inexistent grants and scholarships at that time. At that time, they spent most or all their money. So waitlist is not good news. It's effectively handled like a rejection. It can be difficult to accept if it was a school you wanted. Just take a deep breath and start waiting on the other schools. Checking your emails and make sure you're following up so you don't miss any notifications that the school needs something. Okay, so that's a story on wait lists. Anything there, Quinn? Everybody okay? I'm going to assume so. While you're waiting, what do? Students try not to be stressed, parents either. It's kind of hard, I know. It's kind of hard for me to say that, right? I can just say, don't be stressed. Come on now. Yes. Mm-hmm. Students on this program, or in my experience, always seem to end up where they will grow and prosper. Always seem to do that. Parents, remember, at the end of the day, quote, it's the student, not the parents, who are attending the college, right? Students, remember, it's your parents that will pay the bill for college, even if you're fully covered for college, for the indirect cost, for the direct and indirect costs. In other words, if you're fully covered for college, almost that little piece parents got to pay. And who do you think's going to help you with airfare and all that kind of stuff? So both sides have to remember that. And I have more to say about that in coming weeks, obviously. Check your portals, students, and parents, remind them, and email 2 times a day, especially the CSUs. They're only going to tell you by your portal or by an email. They're not mailing a lot of stuff. Some of them are mailing acceptance letters this year, but after that, they're not going to hit you up. You got to stay up. Look for scholarships while you're waiting to cover the indirect costs. Okay? Now, here we go. Going down the stretch here. We're making good time. This is the most important part of the presentation, I think. Important financial aid definitions. Calls for some water. Important definitions. What is financial aid? It's the federal student loan or parent loan. So it's loans first. You got to remember it's loans, okay? It's the grants, Pell Grants, work study. That's not really a grant, but you know what I mean. Institutional need-based grants and institutional academic, athletic, or artistic awards. Those are your 2 types of financial aid. So let's go ahead and label those. Hold on. Let's label those. That's free money. So over to the left of that bracket, that would be free money. All right, it's very important. A lot of people claim that that free money gave them, they get a free ride, but usually there's loans they're not telling you about. Many people will say, I got a free ride, right? They'll tell you that. Let me make sure I get out of the way here. Hold on. My cursor. There it is. Just a minute. I want to close that up. Many people say they get a free ride. In reality, they have loans included. So you take into account the loans, and they'll say they have a free ride. I only see free rides if somebody got a QuestBridge scholarship, which is a very selective early decision program that I don't think anybody on the program did it this year. Okay, let's go on. Even athletic awards are not full scholarships. They got to take out the direct loan to cover their spending money on field trips. They don't get that part of their scholarship. Important financial aid definition. What is relevant financial aid? Ooh, that's important. Well, relevant financial aid is the federal student loan, but not the parent loan. You should calculate the need for the parent loan separately, but they'll put all these on the award, as you'll see in a minute. In your mind, you need to scratch out the parent loan, scratch out the work study, because in reality, work study is like $7 an hour, and you only work in 15 hours a week, typically as a freshman. If you want to work a job, a regular job on the campus, where you'll make twice as much and you work more hours. So if you're going to do work at all, you're going to see later me telling you I don't think students should work the first semester because they should be making relationships and getting settled on the campus. And they're not going to help with the tuition anyway, parents. It's not going to be enough. The federal Pell Grant is something is relevant. Notice the student loan is relevant to me. Why do I call it relevant? Because I think students should pay something for college. That student loan represents the student's skin in the game. They have something in the game. If they take out loans every year, they'll owe about $240 a month. Do it for 4 or 5 years, and they can get forgiveness. I think that's fair enough, and they should be able to do that coming out. There wasn't an adequate use of the campus to get ready to have a job, and I'll be helping them with that before they go to school. Institutional need-based grants, right? That's relevant. And institutional academic awards, artistic or merit. These are all legitimate awards. That's what relevant financial aid is. Now, here's the problem, parents. You're going to see in my examples, they put all of that stuff, all these bullets will be on your award. It's up to you to cross out those in your mind. I'll show you how that works. Students in college should not plan the first year. There it is right there. In case you're interested, here's why federal work study is not relevant financial aid. It's so small that it's spending money. Students can make way more for less hours at other campuses, slightly off-campus jobs. That's very important. EEP does not recommend students work their first semester or maybe year, depending on their grades, right? Priority is to meet lots of people the first semester. Some will be your future roommates, because they're not going to pick a roommate for you again. You got to find your roommate. The more time you can bond with the campus the first year, the more likely you are to finish college. Okay, I'll definitely cover that more later. Maybe in the youth only meeting when I get there in February. Other important financial aid definitions. What is direct cost? We've talked about that. I'll say it a different way this time. The college costs that are on the bill or are fixed costs, those are your direct costs. Tuition and mandatory fees, housing, board, food, and meals. Okay. Health insurance, if you've elected to take the school's health insurance. These are all things that will be on the bill. What is indirect costs? Books, travel, spending money, technology. Those are all indirect costs. Okay. It can be partially covered by third-party scholarships, like I told you earlier. Now, here we go. What will I pay for college? How to read the financial aid award, which will lead us to how to pay, right? How to pay. What will I owe for college? We're going to talk about taking your relevant financial aid, which includes your direct student loan, your institutional grants. Those form your relevant financial aid, okay? And it's going to be less than, so it's minus the direct costs. If you take out the cost and it's negative, you owe for college. You take out the cost and it's positive, you'll get a refund. That's very, very, very rare to get a refund. A negative amount means that you owe for college. And of course, you're going to see in my examples, the amount you owe is what you need to look at. And I've shown you some relevant examples coming up here where you can kind of fit yourself into the example, okay? All right. Here's the first financial aid award example. Is an HBCU, maybe a private one, I don't know. The student has a GPA of 3.75. The family income is $35,000 to $45,000. It's a family of 2 and 3. All right, here we go. You can see they've been awarded a direct student loan, 2 types. We'll talk about that later, I think. The parent loan they've assessed at 27. The Pell Grant 74 and the Merit 7. This is very typical for an HBCU, by the way. The work study was $3,500. So the total financial aid award for this student is $60,000, it looks like. But the relevant financial aid is $29,000. And you can see over here to the right, over here, on total amount, I'm circling it, it's $55,000. So they're going to owe this family making only $35,000. Is look at the very bottom, it's going to owe $25,000 for HBCU. So this is where I usually stop and say, and I'll say it again 2 other times. If you're in that 35 to 55, I would even say, even 60, where you can go to a CSU and that be pretty much covered, you have to have a very good reason to take the debt and go to HBCU or any private college for that matter, when you can get fully covered at CSU. And yes, I know a lot of you think that you'll get enough financial aid, but just plan it this way. How about a family with 80,000, that same 2 to 3, if you're 80,000 plus? Most of my families are in that range. You can see that you're going to owe the same 29,000 for college, pretty much. Well, it's a little higher, $29,000 or $30,000, which you need to plan to pay for an HBCU. Now, look what I did with the merit awards. I've assumed a $20,000 merit award here, whereas the other example, I didn't. So there's no merit award. It's going to be a lot more than $29,500, isn't it? Make sure you save your copy of these examples and look them over on your own. Okay? That's what Black school is going to look like. Let's go to private colleges, maybe PWIs, predominantly white institutions. And this is 3.75, despite look like it is crossed out. So 35 to 45 family will be much better off at most predominantly white colleges. They owe about $6,000 if you look on the bottom to go. And look at the type of awards. They get university grant of $40,000. This is a need-based award awarded by the private school. Again, however, I've assumed a $28,500 merit award, which is the average merit award at selected private colleges when you're above 3.75. Okay, that's the average we've seen, but the total cost of going there is almost $90,000. You can see what happens there. Okay. Okay, where was I? I'm here. Okay, this is the 35,000 example. All right, here's the 45,000 example. They owe a little more. Look at the bottom is 15,000. And again, remember, I'm only covering relevant financial aid. So this was $79,600, but only 71,000 was relevant. You can figure out what your loan is from there. Your loan really needs to be $16,000 per year, or maybe less if they do some other things. So the loan in this school is about 16,000. This is considered to be kind of a steal, this one here. But you remember, you're 45,000 to 60,000 in income, okay? Then my 65 to 80 and above, I saw maybe I do 80 plus. Yeah, I do 80 plus, okay. 65 to 80, they owe about 25,650. Assuming the same 28,500 for your merit award, but they get less, they'll owe more, right? And here's the 80,000. Like I told you before, I expect for most private colleges, families making 80,000 or more than 80,000 are going to be $35,000 to $40,000 per year in cost. Okay. All right. You might wonder, well, how are they paid for? We'll talk about that in a minute. Here's CSU for 35 to 45. The family will owe about $5,000 to go to school if the family makes 35,000 to 40,000. Notice I have the university grant, and I have I folded the University of Cal grant into the university grant. That's what I did there. Okay. So I've added them in together and called it university grant. Okay. So there's some grant from the university, some grant from California, from the Cal grant. So most CSUs are about $25,000 in direct costs anyway, room and board and tuition. There are exceptions, like Long Beach is less. Long Beach is going to run about 21,000, Bakersfield about 23, but the average for CSU is 25. So I mean, San Diego State's going to be 32,000, right? Again, supply and demand is the reason for that. Here's 65,000 plus. You're going to owe about 17,600 for CSU at that point. Okay, so it's all a matter of how much financial need you really have in CSU. It really is. Remember that 17,610 people that are closer to 65,000 might be about 13. People that are substantially above can get near the 17,000 that they will owe. Okay, here's Cal State for 45 to 60. You can look at that on your own. Now here's UC. UC for a family making 35 to 45, it's about $4,000 a year to go there. But look what happens when we go to 45 to 60. Look at the bottom red there, 10,300, and then 14,000 for 65 to 80. 80,000 plus can run up to 21,000. Again, notice how much merit award I've assumed in each case. I zeroed out the merit award to show you the maximum hit when it's 80,000. But when I did, I never showed any merit award. So if students get a what they call a blue and gold award or a chancellor's award, that will help them out tremendously. So why do we have federal loans for college, you might wonder? Well, like I said a couple weeks ago, need-based and state-based grants, plus the merit scholarship is considerably less than the direct cost. So here's the tuition fees. Here's the grants. And you can see it's smaller. So this amount up here in the blue, that's the gap. And that's why you need loans or either funds you've saved for college to fill in that gap, okay? That's why we need loans. And it's the student loan, and if that's not enough, usually it isn't, then you have a parent loan. So it's dollars and loans are needed to do that, fill in that blue slot, right? Here's a loan example here. So here's a situation that we get a lot in HBCU, up to 3.5 GPA income greater than 50,000, right? And you'll have dollars and loans that you need. There's usually no need-based grants. There aren't going to be need-based grants in this situation. So pretty much you're exposed to tuition and room and board in those schools, in most HBCUs, which can be up to 35,000. We talked about that. By the way, that's the wrong year. How about that? It's line 11 of the 2024 federal tax return. Sorry about that. I should have updated that. Here's 3.3 less than 40. You can get it. But the idea is that the loans are making up the gap. You see, your loans make up that gap in cost. That's what happens there. Okay. Number 3 from CSU. Even CSU, you're going to have a gap above, I'd say 60,000. You're pretty much paying the cost of CSU, because usually students cannot get a university grant if the income's too high. I would say probably greater than 80,000 now, though. So you can get some money, a little bit of money, 60 to 80. I showed that on the other page. And you can look at this CSU example in the presentation. Here's one that's pretty common. Less than 44. Look at that. There's a lot being covered there, right? This bar is a lot bigger because the state of California, our policy is to pay for students that can't afford it. And then you have a very small gap that you have to pay. Okay. Private college I cover. There's private colleges. You can see you're covering about the same amount in dollars and loans. Again, if students have higher grades than 3.9, they're 4.0 and above when they're weighted, it makes the orange part higher. Okay. All right. I pretty much did this. Let me see. I tried to keep it shorter tonight, and I think I did, but I'll take questions and answers. Remember the 2 videos that are on the channel. Quinn, you can drop that again. A couple people came late. Just drop the link to my YouTube channel. Go ahead and subscribe there, but also go there to see the videos I did on the parent loan, plus the issue, just put it in there just now. You can click there and just keep it up on your computer. We did a video on parent loans, plus a very detailed video on scholarships. Okay? I wanted to make sure I took my time and gave you the details you need on the Parent Plus loan. I have a second part of the Parent Plus that does not relate to what you need to do this year. It's just my general commentary on the program. I do not like the way it's set up. And you'll learn more about that later, but it is something that many of you will want to consider. Thank you, Sister Sade. I saw you put that in there. I'm glad it was informative. I try to keep it short and sweet. You like the short and sweet version there today? Maybe she likes my short and sweet version. I don't know.
Yes, I do.
I know you guys are busy this time of year. Sister Marshall, you like my version?
Yes, and I'll definitely watch the videos.
I know you watch all my videos.
I do, and I watch them several times. I started today on the scholarships, but I didn't get a chance to finish on my lunch break, so I'll finish tomorrow. But I appreciate all your information.
I know Sister Veronica peeps over there a lot too. She thinks I don't know. Anyway, I know. I see you looking over there.
Very good presentations. Thank you. Thank you.
Sister Nidra, it's so great to see you tonight here, Sister Nidra.
So I have a question for you.
You sure? That's why I'm here.
Okay, so you talked about 4 to 5 years paying back like a loan. You said something about loan forgiveness after 4 to 5
I'll tell you
years.
about it right now. If a student pays on time, and a lot of them don't, on their student loan when they leave college, the loan back after 4 to 5 years that they've consolidated is practically done. And if they follow the consolidation rules, that's what will happen. If they don't, it'll be a 10-year loan. As they miss payments, it moves more toward 10 years, right?
So when you say consolidation of the loans, what do you mean?
That's a federal process. You can do it on the website once they finish, where they smash all the loans together and reduce them.
Okay.
There's a natural mathematical reduction when you smash them together and make one interest rate. it naturally reduces the loan. If the students make the payments on time, it'll be, depending on how they did it, it'll be 15 to 19,000 in loans. And students can handle that 4 or 5 years, they'll find it's gone. I have a
Okay,
lot of students have done that.
so it's not forgiveness. It's that when they
No,
consolidate.
No, there's no.
Yeah, that's why I was like, get forgiveness. That's why I was trying to figure out what the forgiveness part was.
There's no forgiveness.
Oh, okay.
When I tell the 48 ways to get it now, because there already was some unconstitutional attempts to forgive billions of dollars of loans, and they were all struck by the courts. Then there was an attempt to make it a low payment for 20 billion years. That was struck by the courts. And this all happened in the last administration. So this administration came out with a different process and cleared it up and restored it the way it was. So we all know how to explain it again all of a sudden.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I didn't have to,
Mhm.
I didn't need any loans when I went to college. So
And so what
all
does
of
that,
the,
what does that tell you about what's happened with the cost of college?
yeah, it's gone up. So yeah, so all of the grants and all of this is very new for me because I didn't have to do all that.
Yeah, the cost of college, in case you all are interested, is 19 times the cost that it was 30 years ago. So you can guess that it's higher than the rate of inflation, way higher. And there are a lot of reasons for that. I don't want to get into it right now, but this is why you need to have a couple schools on your list that are affordable but efficient. Okay, that will help students get jobs and careers. That's the main thing that's important, not so much the name of the school.
True.
All right. Anybody else? All right. Okay, I think that's all I got. Yeah, I know in the chat you've seen you have the presentation. Email me if you need anything else. It'd be really great if you do that. And